Hello, and welcome back to the English Circle, the podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Alex. Today, we're covering one of the most overlooked but critically important parts of any job interview, asking questions to the interviewer.
You've prepared your answers, you've researched the company, you've dressed professionally. Then comes the moment, do you have any questions for us? And so many candidates freeze and say, no, I think you covered everything.
I've done that. I was so relieved the interview was almost over that I just wanted to escape. But later, I realized I missed a huge opportunity to show interest and learn if the job was actually right for me.
Exactly. Asking good questions does three things. It shows you're genuinely interested, it demonstrates your preparation, and it helps you decide if this is the right role. Today, we're giving you a toolkit of powerful questions for every situation.
No more awkward silence or, I think you covered everything. Let's make sure you leave a lasting impression.
Alex, let's start with why this moment is so important. What does it signal to the interviewer when you ask thoughtful questions?
That you're engaged? That you did your homework?
Yes, and more. It shows confidence. You're not just waiting to escape. Curiosity. You genuinely want to understand the role and company. Preparation. Your questions show you've done research. Discernment. You're evaluating if this is right for you, not just hoping they pick you.
So it's not just polite, it's strategic.
To help you remember what to ask, use the C.U.R.I.O.U.S framework. It covers 7 categories of questions.
C.U.R.I.O.U.S. Perfect for an interview.
C. Company and culture. Questions about the work environment and values. U. Understanding the role. Clarify day-to-day responsibilities and expectations. R. Resources and support. What tools, training, and team support will you have? I. Impact and success. How is success measured? What does good look like? O. Opportunities for growth. Career progression, learning, development. U. Unknowns and challenges. What challenges does the team face? S. Situation specific. Questions tailored to what you discussed.
This is a complete checklist. Let's break down each category.
First, questions about the company and its culture. These show you care about where you'll be spending your time.
Examples?
How would you describe the company culture in your own words? What do you enjoy most about working here? How does the team celebrate successes or handle challenges? What's the balance between independent work and collaboration? How would you describe the leadership style here?
These questions help you imagine what it's actually like to work there day to day.
Next, questions that clarify the role itself. This shows you're thinking practically about the job.
Important.
What does a typical day or week look like in this role? What are the top priorities for this position in the first 90 days? How does this role interact with other teams or departments? What are the biggest challenges someone in this role might face? What skills or qualities would make someone really excel here?
The first 90 days question is gold. It shows you're already thinking about how to succeed.
Questions about resources show you're practical and want to set yourself up for success.
Like what?
What kind of training or onboarding does the company provide? What tools or software does the team use regularly? How is feedback given to employees? What support systems are in place for new hires? Is there a mentorship or buddy program?
These questions show you're proactive about learning and growing.
Questions about impact and success show you're results-oriented.
Love these.
How is success measured in this role? What would success look like in the first 6 months? What are the key performance indicators for this position? How does this role contribute to the company's bigger goals? What's the most impactful project this team has worked on recently?
These questions help you understand what you'd actually be working toward.
Questions about growth show ambition and long-term thinking.
Important for career-minded candidates.
What does career progression look like for someone in this role? Are there opportunities for professional development or training? How does the company support employees who want to learn new skills? Have people in this role typically moved into other positions within the company? What's the typical career path for someone who starts here?
This shows you're thinking about a future with them, not just the job.
Questions about challenges show you're realistic and want to understand the full picture.
These can feel risky, but they're important.
What's the biggest challenge facing the team right now? What's something you wish you had known before joining the company? What keeps you up at night about this role or project? How does the team handle setbacks or failures? What's the most difficult part of working here?
These questions help you avoid surprises later.
Finally, questions that come from the conversation itself. This shows you were truly listening.
This is where you stand out.
Earlier, you mentioned specific project. Could you tell me more about how that evolved? You talked about the team's approach to something. How does that work in practice? I was really interested in what you said about topic. Can you share more about that? You mentioned the company is expanding into area. How might this role be involved? Based on our conversation, is there anything about my background that makes you concerned about fit? This one is bold but powerful.
The last one is brave. It gives you a chance to address any doubts right there.
Let's also talk about what not to ask. Some questions can hurt your chances.
The red flag list.
Avoid questions about salary and benefits too early, save for later rounds or when they bring it up. Questions already answered during the interview, shows you weren't listening. Negative questions about the company, like, I read some bad reviews online. Questions that are too personal about the interviewee. How quickly can I get promoted? Sounds entitled. Questions you could easily Google. Do I really have to work late? Sounds lazy. Better to ask later. Salary, benefits, vacation time. These are important, but wait until they've decided they want you.
Timing is everything. Save the practical questions for later rounds.
A common question. How many questions is appropriate?
I never know.
Here's a guideline. Always have 3 to 5 questions prepared. If some get answered during the interview, you'll have backups. Ask 2 to 3 questions at the end, depending on time. Watch their cues. If they seem rushed, keep it to 2. If they're engaged and chatty, you can ask more. It's okay to say, I had several questions, but you've actually answered most of them already. I'd love to ask about one thing, if we have time.
Prepared but flexible. Got it.
Let's practice a first-round interview with an HR manager.
Okay.
That's all my questions. Do you have anything you'd like to ask me?
Yes, thank you. I'd love to learn more about the team culture. How would you describe the way people collaborate here?
It's very collaborative. We have weekly team meetings and use Slack for quick communication.
That's great to hear. Also, you mentioned earlier that the role involves working with the marketing team. Could you tell me more about how that collaboration works day to day?
Sure, you'd attend their weekly planning meetings and be the main point of contact for their requests.
That's helpful, thank you. And one more if you have time. What does success look like in this role during the first 90 days?
Excellent question. We'd want you to be comfortable with our systems and have built relationships with key stakeholders.
Thank you so much. That gives me a great picture. I really appreciate your time today.
Perfect. 3 thoughtful questions, all relevant, and you ended gracefully. Now, a second-round interview with the hiring manager. Your questions can be more detailed.
Ready.
Any questions for me at this stage?
Yes, several. First, you mentioned the team is working on a new product launch. How might this role be involved in that process?
You'd be coordinating between the product and marketing teams, managing timelines and deliverables.
That sounds exciting. Second, I'm curious about how success is measured for this position. What would you be looking for at the 6-month mark?
Great question. By 6 months, we'd want to see you managing projects independently and being the go-to person for cross-functional coordination.
That's helpful to know. And one more, what's the biggest challenge facing the team right now, and how could someone in this role help address it?
That's a fantastic question. Honestly, we're struggling with communication between departments, so someone who can bridge that gap would be invaluable.
Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like a meaningful opportunity to contribute.
Wow, those questions show deep thinking and genuine interest. You definitely stand out. Let's build your question-asking toolkit. Leading into questions, I'd love to learn more about, I'm curious about, You mentioned earlier that, could you tell me more? One thing I've been wondering is, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask about when they've answered some already. You have actually answered many of my questions already, but I do have one more about. Most of my questions were covered, but I'd love to ask about closing the question period. Thank you, that's very helpful. I really appreciate your insights. That gives me a much clearer picture. Thank you for your time. I've learned a lot today.
You've actually answered many of my questions already is such a graceful way to acknowledge they were thorough.
Let's recap the C.U.R.I.U.S framework. C, company and culture. U, understanding the role. R, resources and support. I, impact and success. O, opportunities for growth. U, unknowns and challenges. S, situation specific.
And your interview questions challenge is this. Before your next interview, prepare 5 questions using this framework. Write them down. Practice saying them out loud. Then during the interview, listen carefully so you can ask at least one situation-specific question based on what they said.
Alex, what's your favorite question to ask now?
What does success look like in this role in the first 90 days? It shows I'm thinking about results from day 1.
Excellent choice. Listeners, now it's your turn.
In the comments, share one question you always ask in interviews or one you wish you'd asked. Let's build a library of great questions together.
If this episode helps you ace your next interview, share it with a friend who's job hunting.
Subscribe to the English Circle the podcast for more episodes that help you shine in every professional conversation.
Remember, an interview is a two-way street. You're evaluating them as much as they're evaluating you. Ask boldly. Good luck with your interviews and speak with confidence. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.